the More Than Mindset podcast. You okay?
Record.
It says now streaming live on YouTube.
Woo-hoo. We are live.
So, I know you guys know me and Danielle. I am Mallory Vaillant. I am co-interviewing Kim with Danielle Paradan. We are both integrative coaches that Kim has trained. We have been with her for quite a few years now. And now that today we are interviewing Kim for her 100th podcast episode on the More Than Mindset podcast. So we are really, really excited. Danielle, are you excited?
I am so excited. I can't believe it's 100 episodes already. Dang. That is
I
so
know. And 2 of them
Congratulations.
have been your interviews, Danielle.
What's that?
2 of them have been your interviews.
I know. So I would not have expected that either, but oh my God, it's so much fun. Definitely was scared the first interview, not knowing what to expect with Kim and her brain, but definitely the second interview was so much fun. What about you? Like, I've listened to your episodes and they were very fun, very exciting.
I still haven't been able to listen to my own interview
Oh,
all the way through yet, but knowing all of that and how we felt, the first question that we have for Kim is, how are you feeling today, knowing that you don't know what questions we're going to ask you today, and there are some big things happening. And I know yesterday you were telling me a little bit about how you're feeling. So talk to me about that.
It's a little awkward. So it's like I'm kind of like in this waiting position where I'm used to be like right out of the gate, the first one to jump in. So I'm having some emotions, about discomfort, just like not sure what my place is. It feels like I'm a little out of my seat. It's like going from the teacher role to sitting in the desk and being the student kind of feeling. So I'm excited though. Like, I can't wait to see what you have come up with because you guys don't really ask me a lot or probe a lot, or try to dig in and, so I'm curious to see what you came up with.
Well, I definitely had a lot of help from our coaching community. Emily, give a shout out to Emily because she came up with some really awesome questions and I'm going to use a lot of what she said. But I'm glad you're feeling the hot seat now.
yeah. Are you sweating? I know I would.
Just because I so much appreciate how much you have pushed me over the last couple of years. And I felt like all the time it was me in the hot seat, or it was Danielle in the hot seat, or, we had to be uncomfortable and get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I know that you have done this work for so long that you're really skilled at that. But it's nice to be on this side to where, and it's really inspiring to see that, hey, you created all of this. You brought us all together. We're all doing this work together. We've created this amazing community of coaches and of people who are interested in just taking their lives up to the next level and just being the best version of themselves that they can be. So I hope that you're proud of that.
Yeah, I hadn't even, when you just said it, I was like, oh my God, this is like looking at it from that perspective. I had not, I have to say, like, there are moments where, like if I was asked a question yesterday about what was the thing that you have to take away from this year. And it was where I had given my authority away to like some other coach or some other mentor that knew what I needed to do for my business. And it was a total misdirection for several months. And that was my biggest takeaway, is to take my authority back and make my own decisions and be my own CEO and really trust that we have already created it. Like, that's where my brain was still trying to solve a problem that wasn't a problem anymore. We already have a community with like 30 coaches. We are all trained in this mind body healing. We're all like, we're already there, but it's crazy how the mind doesn't receive it. Like we don't fully embody it. It comes in layers and levels. And so you saying it again, after I just posted that yesterday, I was like, okay, yes, this is, I think Danielle and I talked about this recently. This is the arrival where you kind of forget that you're not solving a problem anymore, that it's already been solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you drop that veil and you realize, oh shoot, like I'm actually living what the vision was. Like it's actually arrived, and it's like you haven't even caught up to it yet. And then it's like you get slapped in the face with it and you're like, oh, wait, this is actually me and I'm actually here and they're here and this is happening. That kind of leads into my first question, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah.
I would love to know. So, whenever I coach my clients, I always ask them to create a vision. So, I'm sure you had a vision of what the community and the podcast and all of that was going to look like. Can you tell me how the reality is different than the actual vision that you originally had for it?
That's a great question. What I learned over these years is that the vision, let me see if I can say this. So there is a vision that's there. That didn't even seem tangible, but I couldn't put out the fire of the vision, but I couldn't see a pathway to it. I couldn't see a possibility, but I couldn't let go of the vision. Does that make sense? And it's like I hung on to that and I was trying to make it happen when it was years away.
Mm-hmm.
And so now being 3 years on the other side and actually living in that vision that I didn't have the how to 3 years ago. What was the question you asked me?
How is it different? How does
it
this
different?
reality different, which I'm sure it's way bigger than the original vision started?
It's so rich.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect to be so satisfied. Where when it was just a far off vision, like when I had that visionary look, like kind of looking over, it was more of a like this brewing passion, like an urgency. If you guys remember the first round of coach training, it was urgent. Like I had to do this. I had to save the world. I had to save the people. We were really focused on the suicide rate here was like 28%. It was real. It was people that I knew. It was like I was so in a rush. And I saw so much potential in my clients and I was just like, went all in. And I feel like it was like this, we have to go and do this now, urgency, we better hurry up kind of thing. And this is actually this ease and flow and fun and rich. Rich is the word that keeps coming up. The relationships that we have built, the movement that we are creating in this mind body integrative healing aspect that seemed foreign 4 or 5 years ago. That when I was trying to share it and force people to understand it and they didn't understand it, I was beating myself up. I was depressed and frustrated. And like, that's where the urgency came from. I was like, you have to see what I see. Mm-hmm. And now the experience is richer than I ever imagined. And all of that stress and urgency is gone. And it's an embodiment of it, of the actuality. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah,
but
it did. Yeah.
Very
and
much
I know like the way that you explained it, I understand that feeling because I kind of feel the same way. I don't want to elaborate too much on it, but I know what you're saying. But I do want to piggyback on that question.
Yeah, it's like the vision was almost painful because it wasn't seen by anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. Yes, I totally get that. Mm-hmm. So piggybacking off of that question, what's the next vision? Like what is happening next? What's coming for you? What's your vision for the next, I don't know, 5-10 years? What's it going to look like?
Oh my God. It kind of gives me like the feeling in my stomach when I think about it. The next level for me is really holding the vision as the leader and learning how to lead a team, learning how to, it's a different positioning. So now that the vision is here, the containers are built, the leaders, the coaches, the practitioners are trained. Does that make sense? Now it's me learning how to not be that practitioner that is doing all of that, but how to lead others so that this movement can, I'll say, like escalate, because the impact is coming from the common denominator, which is the passion to serve that is inside all of us.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was me holding the torch. It was me lighting the fire. It was me doing, like, trying to bring the people to the bonfire. Like, come, I've got this fire going. I want you to see it. I want you to come feel the heat. I want you to experience it. Come kumbaya with me, right? Come and hang out here. And so it was like this concept for a very long time. You know, now looking back, I realized just how long that was happening, because the vision for it started before I ever did the online coaching thing, right? It started here in this physical location. That was the vision, was to create this conscious culture and community to support it. And I had a really hard time letting go of it being in physical form in this location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like you're hitting that glass ceiling where you're about to break through to that next level. And what we learned from you is that it's a wash, rinse, repeat cycle. And so it's, we kind of forget that we have to go back from the beginning and go through all that stuff over again. It's like, it's so good. You want to change, you want to transform, but then it's like, oh my God, wait, I forgot what this feels like. We get all that coming up.
Yeah. And I think it's the discomfort is now that it's a fear or a worry to let the team down, to let y'all down, to let the people down. Whereas before it was just mine, and it was mine kind of convincing the world that there was a bridge between mind, body, and medicine, that they did not have to choose one or the other, that we could actually go through this, aligned process. It doesn't I think that was really, really hard, because I think it came off that I was against it because of my own experience and what I was trying to share, that there was an alternative. And I think it was being perceived different. I think it was an and or. And it was never, because I've worked with several practitioners, you guys know this, who come in with their own form of medicine. And I'm like, no, we're going to integrate it. We're not going to throw your current career away. We're not going to throw your trainings. We're not going to throw your essential oils or your supplements or your medicine away. What we want to do is integrate, and so now I feel like that has caught up in the industry, that has caught up in the world. There are more people on board. Whereas when this first division first started, I was by myself, or I felt like I was by myself. Now I'm seeing it way more exposed, looking 5 years later.
Yeah, definitely. Good. What's been your most profound moment as a coach? Like, as in this work that you've been doing?
For myself or for my clients? What do you mean?
Your own experience. Like, for you, as either you personally, or you as in like training someone or coaching someone, or what's been the most profound thing?
My most profound moment was when I realized that my clients were not seeing the potential in themselves that I was seeing in them. It was, I could cry right now, because it was so frustrating. I think my belief was so strong, and the perception of the people were like, I was trying to take advantage of them, or I was like, oh, she's just trying to sell me something, or she's just saying that, and it was painful to believe in that capacity. And it's like telling your children that they're pretty or that they're loved, and they can't see it because someone at school has been picking on them and they believe the bully. And I feel like that's what a part of it has been for so many people in the world in general. Like, the humans are assholes. They're jealous and they're envious, and they don't have the best interest of the others a lot of times, because it's always this fighting over someone else to climb the ladder. And that doesn't align with what I believe. I don't think that competition is real. I think it's an illusion. And so when I come off from the perspective of we can do it together and I can help you, and I see this, and they didn't believe the potential and the possibility, I think that, and I believe it came from my struggle with it, was for so long.
Yeah.
That breaks my heart, just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Into perspective, it's like our kids, because I have teenager and soon to be teenagers. So I'm about to have 3 of them. And it is whenever, they say, I don't have friends, or I'm not pretty, or oh my God, it's like, how can you not see what I see? And that
Right.
does, it's so frustrating. Like you just want to make them, but you can't. It has to be their decision. It has to be their work that they have to do. You can just love them and support them. And that's what we love about you, is that you loved and supported us through that. You know, just it didn't matter how long it took us to see. And even now, for me, I know, I don't know about Mallory, but for me, it's still like I feel like I'm halfway on the seesaw, like you say. I see, I don't see. And you just love us through that and you support us. So thank you for that so much. On
For
a
sure.
lighter note, I would like to kind of go back. And so earlier you mentioned how much more fun this reality is than what you imagined. Can you elaborate as far as like what is one of the most fun moments that you've had, or what is so much more fun than you imagined?
I think it's that you guys have had enough experience now to finally believe and trust and let me go into the dark spaces and then laugh in the dark spaces, laugh after the dark spaces. Like the awareness that you realize now that it is just thoughts and beliefs in your brain that's playing, like having this pooty party.
Yeah.
And so there is, the funness is having clients that allow me to go deeper. It was not always like that. I had a sledgehammer. I was trying to break down the walls because of the urgency, right? Because I mean, like I didn't know how to contain that passion inside of myself. And I was like praying to God, please put this fire out. If it's not going to come to fruition, if it's not going to happen, would you please drown this bitch? Like make it go away. It was so hard, you know? And now it's like I can push Mallory to the brink. I can push you to the brink. I can push Peggy. I can push Emily. There's such a deep, rich trust that it's like being able to. Who's the one who said this? They were like, it's like you at the edge of the cliff, and you like throw us off, right? Like it's this throwing, and yet your hand is there, but you're saying, well, you're going to have to just reach up to grab it. Like there's this edge to it that's so intense, and yet I know you're there. And I think that has been, it's kind of morbid, right? I'm laughing at but I told you I'm kind of like a death doula. It's like I like the intensity. I like when someone has gotten the diagnosis, or when they're at the edge of the game, when they're at the bottom of the ground, when there's nowhere else to go, when they finally resolve to quit all that materialistic stuff and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Like that moment. And I feel like there's so many of you or who are there right now that is fun. That is inspiring. And I'm satisfied. I think that is the word that I've been playing with this last month more than anything else. It's this juicy joy. It's this playfulness. It's this satisfaction it's so gooey and rich. And the intimacy in the community, in the coaching community, in the self-healing masters community, the richness of the intimacy is nothing like I have ever experienced.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, so would you say something that Susie asked was, um, over all the clients that you've seen over the years, what's the biggest hindrance to growth? So would you say that you kind of already answered it. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want to clarify, is it that not seeing our own potential, or is there something else?
Yeah, it's the limiting beliefs. You can't see that the story of the past is actually not what is right now. It's actually just an incident or just a circumstance that happened. But the scar or the imprint that was left from that is what you guys can't see because it's unconscious. And I feel like I can see pretty quickly. And so there's this intent, like that's where I would come with that sledgehammer. And I think Susie
Mhm.
even said this. She was like, what do you mean you're all calm and easy now? You weren't always like that. You were like kicking. Peggy's like, oh God, she was so tough. And it was that sledgehammer approach, right? I was like the chisel, and I was going to break through that. I was very determined. And I think there's something now where it's like, okay, I see it now, and I realize it's in their own timeline, and I'm not in a hurry, and I trust the process. And the way that I structured my business with the investment and the full on support and I can do that now because I'm like, I don't have an urgency that I have to get you to get this in 3 months or in 6 months or in a year. That is, I think, what changed the way that I fully trusted myself, which was different than what the coaching industry was telling us to do, like this with clients. It's like, I think I respected the traumatic brain, the repressed emotions, the how long that can take.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I chose to structure my business in a way that I can continue to support them until they were ready to come on board without creating that urgency and that money and that worry and that, like, because that's what was happening. Do y'all recall that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
It was like, it was an urgency for you to get what I was trying for you to get before your brain could comprehend it and receive it, because of what was happening with the nervous system and all of the triggers that were coming up and all of the limited beliefs, the past stories, all of that stuff is the hindrance.
Yeah.
Did I answer that question? That's
Yeah,
correct.
I think you did for sure.
Yeah.
But I think this is just an example of your thoughts of thinking it had to be now, and just that forcefulness created the opposite reality. So it was whenever you were able to drop that belief that it was going to happen on its own time, that's whenever it really sped up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really, well, it became funner for sure.
Yeah.
And I think also, because it does involve money and it does involve time and, there's so many layers of what I do anyway. I'm not just a regular coach. What I'm doing is the integrating process. And when we're working with these unresolved issues that we know are going to come up, and I'm willing to be the one to say, we're going to stay here until this shifts, that I had to be creative about the offer that I make, and the investment that my client makes and the duration and the continued support and all of that stuff. So it was really having to fully trust the vision rather than the tactics of what someone else has done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, I had to
I totally get that.
completely cut the cords to what anyone else was doing in the industry, because I didn't realize that what I was doing was different.
Mhm.
And I think you
Yeah.
guys experienced that, because you came in, it was pretty intense, but you went out and you kind of saw what everyone else was doing, and you're working with other practitioners and other coaches and other professionals. And then you came back with the news, like, whoa, we did a lot in here. We figured, what we are doing is so different from anyone else, but you needed the contrast also. So we both needed the contrast. Like, I needed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I did that. Like, I went out and I heard from other coaches, and there's like, I see two sides of it. There are some that the level of their coaching, and these are like high level coaches, but the depth of their coaching is not nearly what we're doing in here. Like, they're like stopping just below the surface, and it needs to go so much deeper to really truly like heal the whole story. And they're not getting there. And I don't know if it, never mind, not that question. But then I see some on the other side who they're really good with the, like, what I didn't realize was the emotional processing stuff, but they don't have as much of the understanding of how the mind works. So they don't have the whole picture, which is
Mhm.
what you're giving us.
The integration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's what I
integration.
found too, was
Exactly.
with the high dollar coaches that, definitely they know what they're talking about, but they're not going in depth as much, like you said, they're not sharing the secret sauce, what got them there. You can see hints that they're giving it to people, but it's almost like they don't believe that the people can handle it or they'll understand. And I guess, like you said, it does take such a long time. It's a process. And, they're just trying to give them quick wins. And it's like, no, this is the amazing part. This is what you need to transform your life, to gain power control of your life. And it's so good. So that's why I keep coming back, is because when I see top leaders doing this work, but they're not teaching you how to, create that in your own life. So it's like, okay, it's just confirming that, yes, this stuff works. Now I'm going to go back to our community and, just dive in, learn as much as I can, practice it. And it's just amazing. That's what's really sped up everything for me, is seeing the contrast, but also seeing hints of this work and top leaders. and knowing, okay, yeah, it's this work that got them there, and I have the secret. I know the secret code. So
We have the secret sauce.
yeah.
And it's more, instead of the quick win, it's the longevity.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's really, that's where, because I think we've done, we've seen influencers, and it's like, oh, they got like 1 billion followers and, hundreds of thousand likes and, all of this stuff. And it's like, it's just so surfacey. It's more motivational talks, and you can listen to that all of your life and never do the inner work and never get anywhere. So you just stay in that spin until it exhausts you, because you're beating yourself up that it's not available for you, and then just kind of throw in the towel rather than go in, which is why I structure the way that I structure. It's like, you got to pay in advance. You got to commit to the long term. I won't do the other stuff anymore, because I'm looking to serve the client. And I know I trust my authority and my expertise on how long that's going to take and what they need. And it was tough at first, but I just stuck with it and I trusted it.
Mhm.
And I know I over deliver. I trust that 100%. I know my clients get more than what they invest in. They get more than what they thought they were going to get. We just got to get through that part of their brain that had a different vision. I think it's going to look different than it does.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. I have a question from Peggy. If you could live your life over again, what would you do different from the start, if anything?
Ooh, God, I hate to say this because I feel like I'm going to be saying it again in 10 years, but I really wish I would trust that voice that's inside me. I could cry, because I think of 18 months I spent in a container that I couldn't, like trying to dilute the message, trying to fit in a box or fit in a container, or fit in what someone else thought the world needed to hear, rather than what I knew I was here to share. And so it would be, yeah, my own, gosh, it's so crazy because you asked that. And when I look back, I instantly remember when I was 24 years old, like in 1997, I think it was, give my age away, but I just had this gut thing to open my first business. I had never opened it. I'd never been trained for any of this stuff. Right. And I did it, but I wrote, like, when in the building, I wrote scriptures underneath the floors and under the walls. And because I was so scared, but I was following the inner voice. It was like I was building the ark, and it didn't make sense. Right. But I trusted. I hadn't been influenced by the world so much at that point. So all I was going by was that voice that had kept me alive, that voice that I would go to, and looking back since then, like, I had the first business, and then, like, I sold that, then I built another, then I moved it, then I added on several times, then I had other locations, then I had, it's like it continued to evolve. And when I look back, all of that was trusting my own voice. I didn't have a business coach. I didn't have anyone else. It was just that. And then I got to a point about 10 years in, and someone said I needed a coach, or no, I needed a business advisor or something like that. I bought all the books on business. I still have them. And I asked someone to come in and to show me. And I got caught spinning in this. It needs to be a certain way. Like, the industry has this homogenized system for business, and this is how you're supposed to do it. But my entire business had been run on intuition up until that point, on trust and on listening to that inner light, and when I tried to do it someone else's way, everything started going down, and it started changing, and it wasn't as rich. The relationships weren't as rich. The results weren't as rich. It wasn't as satisfying for me. And after you asked and I went back, I realized that's the exact same thing I did 2 years ago. I listened, because I had already been coaching, and it was already over $200,000. I knew I had the proof, I had the clients, I had the concept, I had the book, I had everything going. And then somehow, somewhere, that voice came in again, that somebody else knew better. And I did the same exact thing that I did 10 years in. So I would say it would be that. But I wouldn't know this, and I wouldn't be able to take you through it if I wouldn't have experienced that again.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Is that so? Another question that she had off of that question was, what's the one thing you would want all of us to know? Would you say that's the same message or something different?
I believe that I treat you all individually because of that. Like, I believe I've already auto corrected that. There is no one in this container. And I think you guys can vouch for this, and any of the coaches who are listening, who are seen as this same exact thing. If anything, that's my one message, is bio individuality. That is why I became an IIN coach years ago. Before I even became a life coach, I became a health coach. And that is the word that sold me. I remember I was laid up. I had foot surgery, another surgery, and I was on bed rest. And I signed up for that course because I was afraid, from my mind, I was afraid not to be moving, not to be exercising. I was afraid depression would come back to get me. I was afraid, I was afraid of all that. And I saw something on Facebook, and it was about bio individuality, and it was about becoming a health coach. And I was seeing where my members, my exercise members, my yoga members, like, were having this problem with staying consistent. And I was like, what is happening here? And what it is they would hit these upper limits. They'd hit these limiting beliefs. They would get home to their family. And I was like trying to solve for that. So that's why I became a coach to start off with. And the thing that attracted me to that particular school was that word, bio individuality. Every person is unique and different. Every person is unique and different. Every person is unique and different. And I feel that about every single one of my clients. And because we're unique and different, it takes a different amount of time. So a 3-month or a 6-month or a 12-month package is not going to give the same results, because they have different experiences coming in.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I see that with my clients as well. Like, I can't treat them all the same. They can't. And one of my clients actually asked me this last week. She said, do you walk us all through the exact same process? I'm like, well, it's the same general structure, but I can't treat you all like it's like y'all are all coming from the same place and that y'all are the same people. So no. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this community, is that we don't do that. We treat each other like individuals, and we're all celebrated, and that uniqueness is celebrated. It's beautiful. It's really a beautiful community to be a part of. And I highly recommend anyone who is thinking about, joining, just to do it now, like while you have this inspiration, because I've never felt, such a belonging and such an open reception of who I am and my weirdness. And, I found my weird community. So it really is amazing. So thank you so much for that.
The thing too is, this plays on my mind, is I have this belief or this worry about scaling and losing that personal aspect that we have, and that's why this moving into this leader role is so important to me, is so that we can maintain that integrity. I can maintain that integrity and have trusting coaches that can uphold the same integrity. Does that make sense? Like, that's why I feel like this next layer is so important, because there's about 4 people right now who are interested in the integrative coach training, right? So like that process by itself. And I'm thinking in my head, like, you get to the point to where you start scaling and it starts becoming about systems and money. I see this in the coaching industry. That's the $1 million coaches. That's the right. And it becomes very non-personal. They take this different role, and I don't want to do, that's not what drives me, and that's not what satisfies me. And so I feel like I'm treading a new way to do business that's in ease and flow and integrity and maintaining the intimacy. And that's why I spend so much time with the existing coaches, and, you keep getting opportunities to step up, and I may offer the same exact thing 5 or 6 times before someone says yes. And that's the drive behind it. How I always say, you can tell what your beliefs are by the actions that you're taking. There's a belief behind every action that we take. And I don't want to lose the satisfaction. I've done big business. I've done $1 million in my business. I've figured out how to grow multiple businesses. I can do all of that. And then at the end of the year, I'm looking at all of the money, and I'm like, well, how do you do this? Where does it go? Where do you spend it? What do you do with the taxes? I remember like freaking out with my CPA. No satisfaction. That did not bring the satisfaction. I'm like, oh my God, I just realized, this might be the aha moment. I just realized this changing factor in my community with my clients. And it is, we are not driven by money. Healing focused entrepreneurs are not driven by money. And so using this mindset coaching, this money stuff, this does not work. And I realize in my own life, we are driven by the results of our clients and the satisfaction from the intimacy of the relationships. We are driven by fulfilling our purpose and our passion. We are driven by the inner work to take us to that outer place. Like that is completely different from the coaching industry that is driven, the ones that are driven by money. It's something about the healing focused entrepreneur. It's the health and wellness practitioner that got into medicine because they wanted to help people. And then one day found themselves in a system that they were actually being, what's the word? By the system that's being run by the insurance company. It's not client focused. It's not patient focused. It's not about helping. It's you actually become, it's just another system. And
You become a robot.
That person, that passion, that's my person. Yeah. I'm like, I can help you integrate this, or I don't know. I think the best way to say it is I help practitioners integrate coaching in their practice to become an entrepreneur. Boof. That would be the whole thing. And there's something about us, and we are driven by connection. And we are driven by vision and that fire. It's that fire. It's not the money.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that. Wow. Okay. So that was so powerful. I can vouch for myself. Like when I came to this work, it was because I wanted to leave a legacy. I wanted to serve and to feel that significance. And I didn't know how to find that. I didn't find that in my 9 to 5 that I thought I would have. Or, I definitely found that with my family, but with the systems that are in place, we lose that. We get so disconnected because we're living these busy lives. It's not like, in the 50s where we're sitting down at a table with, all the kids at home, you're running them from here to there. So many of us have lost that sense. And so it's almost like a coming back to home, coming back to what as human beings means so much to us, that need for connection, that need for community, and that need for growth and fulfillment. And I have found it all here in this community, and it's so amazing and powerful. Wow. So I think that's a good note to end on. Is there anything else any other last sentiments that you want to make, or you want to leave us with on this 100th episode of your podcast? I know I've, witnessed you running home to record the podcast, like at midnight. You're so dedicated. I was like, wow, like she is serious. Like she will not, when she has the schedule, she will not miss it. So congratulations on that. We love the podcast. It's definitely unique and special. So congratulations to you.
I can say that I've never one time gone over, like my stuff has always been turned in, every single out of 100 episodes. And then I had done a previous podcast. So I don't remember how many we were in on that first one, but I hit my deadline every single time, no matter where I was traveling, no matter what I was doing. I think that's a big deal. I need to really recognize myself for that. You are right. I have done it at midnight because that was my deadline. And sometimes I was like, okay, I'm here in the storm and it's 11 o'clock and I'm getting it in on the final hour, and, or making sure that they were done ahead of time if I was leaving to go out of town. So thank you for recognizing that, because I did not. I hadn't realized it. Is that all the questions that y'all have for me?
Oh, no, I have a long list that I didn't get to, but I think it went where it needed to go.
Yeah, we'll have to do part 2.
Yeah.
Those kind of have a way of taking a life of their own when you're sitting in the presence of it. So this is really fun. We might do this again.
I think we should. I like doing this. I like the flow of where it went. I feel like it pulled out the deepest part, like the true heart and soul of why you're here, and recognizing that you are fulfilling that purpose, that we're all trying to not only recognize what is the purpose that we're here for, but how do I fulfill that purpose? And I think that you are truly doing it, and you're empowering all of us to do it too. And that is so freaking amazing. And I love it.
I know, I'm so excited to move into the new containers, and kind of like this year is, that, because Mallory, by the way, is like what are we calling you? Your assistant, a VA? I don't even know exactly what all positions she
I'm
holds.
going to go with strategist.
Yes, strategist, her and Danielle both. So in the business aspect, so really moving into, I think, more richness, in those two communities, and then introducing the new stuff and the new retreats and, all of the things that are coming up this year, and where all of the coaches are going. It feels like a proud grandma moment. So we now have some of the clients coming into the container, right? And so it's like, oh my God, we've like hit another generation. That's what it feels like. And so if you remember, like when your kids walk for the first time, it's like really special and so fun. But then when you're watching your grandkids and you're like, oh my God, it's like the ripple effect in reality. Like I get to experience and explore that. It's so fun.
It is so fun.
Mhm.
All right. This was so awesome. Congrats again on your 100th episode. Can't wait to see what else is coming next. And I'm so glad to be a part of it too.
Me too. Thanks so much. And it's so good to celebrate like this. I love celebrating with the journey and looking back. Like I think it's so important. So can't wait to see what's next. Cannot wait.
What's been, can I turn this around? What's been the biggest takeaway?
Of course she's gonna yeah, I was gonna go get the rules. You make the rules. Your podcast.
So you've been here like the longest. What was your biggest takeaway?
Who are you talking to? Both of us?
Yeah. Mallory first. Where did you realize that you didn't know coming in that you know now?
That all my life I wasn't listening to myself. And there's that thing inside of me there that it's me. It's like my soul, my purpose. It's God speaking through me, like telling me you are different. You are special. You don't have to be like everybody else. I put you here for a reason. And all those other paths that I went down, that happened for a reason to bring me back here. But it was, now I feel like I'm actually walking the path that I'm supposed to walk down, and having that contrast of trying something that in, society's vision is like a good thing to do, but it wasn't the thing that I was supposed to do. And it took going there to recognize that, have that contrast of that wasn't it, but this is that feeling of this is the thing that I specifically am put here on this planet to do and to fulfill and to be. And I never would have recognized that without all of this work.
Nice. Thank you. Danielle?
For me, it was that life doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be a struggle, and that actually it's easy and you're supported, and that there's so much power that's within us that's just waiting to be uncovered. I kept looking for my self-worth to be validated in the things that I did and the things that I achieved and accomplished. And I can never quite, put my finger on it or grasp it. And the whole time it was just in me. And so I just needed to look within. So I think that was the biggest thing, is once I was able to do that and I was able to let go of the doing and struggle, and I could just be, and it's like like my nervous system just calmed down. Like the last 10 pounds I couldn't lose because I was 40 now, and you can't lose weight at 40, like just fell off, and it just became fun and exciting. And it was like Christmas every morning, waking up, and my husband was looking at me like, why are you getting up so early? What are you doing? It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to go meditate and to do all these things, to learn something new, and to see who's gonna walk into my life today. And so that's what I just wish for everyone, is to have that, because I don't think I knew that I was searching for that. And that through I didn't know I was searching for it, but I'm so happy that I found it.
Thank you for celebrating. Thank you for hanging around through 100 episodes, because you guys, a lot of you are listening, like have been here from the beginning, and we didn't really know what it was. I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. I have this message and I need to go leave it somewheres, because I was now repeating the same thing over and over and over. So it's like, I need a place to send back to refer to. So anyway, thank you very much for the idea, for the interview, for the questions.